Sandra, thank you very much for having me here. Sandra, there is a lot of interest all over the internet about these programs of immigration into Portugal. One of them is called the D7. And I understand that you know very, very well what this entails, not only the D7, but also other programs of immigration. So maybe you could tell me or tell us what is your background and why you know so much about this, and maybe start with what's this famous D7?
Well, thank you for being here. It's my pleasure to have you here at my place, and I'm very glad that we are doing this in Madeira Island at the moment. It's part of Portugal, and it's where I was raised, and where I raised my children. So it's a privilege to be here, although I'm living in Lisbon nowadays. So my background, I've been a lawyer for more than 30 years. I started by being a real estate and corporate lawyer. But when the Golden Visa program began, which is an immigration based on investment, a residency based on investment program, I was invited to start working with one client and then with a consultancy company in Lisbon. That was back in 2013. And that's when I really started to have more contact with immigration law, studying all the immigration law, and getting very infused with immigration law. Back then, Portugal was coming back from recession. Lisbon was slowly getting out, but Madeira was still behind. So it was very difficult to work in Madeira back then. And so I thought, well, this is a good challenge. This is the way. And I had the children at university back then, so it all matched. And I went to Lisbon and started working with the immigration programs. At that point, we only had the immigration. We worked with immigration based on investment only, the Golden Visa program, and the D7 was not at all even known. D7, by the way, is the name of a form, and it started to be marketed as an immigration program later, like 3-4 years ago. Just to close my background, I was in Madeira, so then I was working between Lisbon and Madeira, and finally from 2017, and especially from 2018 onwards, I had a merge with a Lisbon law firm, and the idea was to develop an immigration program. That's what I did, so I became the head of that immigration department, and we've been growing. Nowadays we will always almost be now 14 people working for the immigration program in law.
In this firm, you specialize in immigration then?
Yeah, this firm we have tax experts, we have corporate real estate litigation as well, but I would say, and also labor. But definitely the immigration department is the one has more people, paralegals and lawyers involved. So it's now a very important department in that law firm where we are.
And why do you think is this sudden explosion in the interest on the D7 program?
Well, Portugal was not very well known. I can tell you that most of our clients, when I talk with them, they've been in Europe, but they know, like, even South European countries. They've been in France, in Italy, in Spain, but rarely they even knew about Portugal. Portugal was not very known. Portugal, we did have a lot of tourism, especially in Madeira, and we started in Madeira Island, but it was more European-based tourism, not from worldwide. So the Golden Visa was the first program, and because there was some, of course, real estate developers, wishing to have and sell their own business, they started to promote, and there was a lot, money involved because the investment was big. So those real estate, especially developers, they started to talk about Portugal, doing some agreements with some consultancy companies all over the world, basically. And that's why Portugal started to be well known as for the Golden Visa, as a destination. It was already known only for the not specialists, or how do you say? The immigration that we had was more like building workers during some times that we needed. but we didn't have much qualified immigration back then. So basically, yes, the golden visa was very important to make, somehow bring Portugal to the world and into the map. Later, the D7 was developed to reach those pensioners that have enough money to live in Portugal, that are not, of course, from a European Union country, and to bring them in. It was a way to bring them in. They would have, their own income, and they could use, they would some invest in properties as well, and that's how the D7 started with the pensioners. Later, the D7 was also developed for passive income holders, so whoever had income, so it was not needed to be a pensionist, so younger people could also apply, but it was important to prove that they had enough income, either dividends, royalties, rents, as long as it was passive. The most important thing is to prove that they were, there was some regular income coming in, and they would not be a burden to our country. And we started to welcome those people. I believe when we started and open a little bit more the D7, it's also because it's important for our demography here in Portugal. We are getting an old country, and not many people, not many newborns, and it's also a way. So it was a little bit open to younger people, to attract younger people.
It was an effort to bring skilled young people into the country.
Skilled young people, exactly, because D7, as you know, is a program that we also always need to prove that there is some regular income coming in. So what happened next, and this was more during the pandemic, was that we realized that there were people willing to come to Portugal to work remotely, because with everything, the impact the pandemic had all over the world, people started to work from home. And so why not come into a wonderful country with wonderful weather, food?
As you know, I have the D7.
Yeah, I know.
Right? So that was
you can tell
a similar process in my head, yes.
So why not choose Portugal? And that's why it became so popular. And we kept on working with the D7 for younger people, talented people that decided to come to our country.
So,